We've already spent a segment laughing it up and enjoying how God has gifted Dennis Swanberg, and 23 years that he worked in just in local ministry, and then in '95 took the big step into what he is still doing today, what God called him to. And he's got a new book out. It's called The Man Code. And he was discussing as we went to the break, the friends that he has, these men. And Dennis, you were talking about going into the break, and we've talked about it on the show several times when it comes to men and men's ministry. The biggest thing I think people need to understand is that God did make man and woman equal, but he didn't make them same. Equal doesn't mean same. We don't operate the same way. We don't respond to the same things. And like you said, the way that, my wife and I were just talking about that this week. She was like, I wish I could somehow be more like you, where you're just like, look, give me the nutshell of this. Break it down for me. Give me an illustration. I want to be able to see this, where she wants to talk about every single detail of every little aspect of it. And she goes, I can already tell you've stopped listening. And I was like, honey, let's break it down. Let's get to the meat of it. And that's kind of the approach.
Did you tell her your thumb drive was full?
Right.
Yeah.
But the man code tries to approach men, and here's a bizarre concept, the way men work and the way we operate and the way we learn. And you've got this man code that involves some numbers. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, we tried to, and we didn't want it to be a long book because a man doesn't want a long book.
No.
You got it.
And
better have some pictures
I
in
tell guys, you put the man code on the toilet tank, and you can have this baby read in 3 days.
That's how I read every book, Dennis. See there,
of course, I had one man tell me, he said, Brother Dennis, I read it in one set, and I said, son, go see your doctor. But anyhow, but the man code, I said, Lord, give me something simple. My buddies, I want to reach these men, and they don't want a workbook. They want something, a Reader's Digest version.
Right.
And he just gave me these simple numbers. The first number of the man code is 1. Every man needs a one-on-one with God. The next number is 3. You need 3 men that can keep their mouth shut. but most men don't have 3 best friends. And that's just a fact. Most ministers, most preachers, most staff members, they don't have 3 best buddies that can be confidential, that they can go to for truth. And then the next number is 12. You need 12 guys you hang with, fish with, hunt with, go ball games with, just good guys that iron sharpens iron. I tell women, let your man go be with men. I mean, it takes us longer to develop friendships. You got to be with men if you're going to have some man friends. And by the way, ladies, let us be with guys, because one day it's going to take at least 6 to carry the dude out.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Men are real big on acquaintances. They're not real big on deep friendships.
Right. And so then the next number is 120. The day before Pentecost, there are about 120 of us. Well, that's the early church. And a man needs the church more than the church needs him. It's a holy dynamic. I mean, I know we're hypocritical and all that. We got all our problems, but despite all that, we need the church just like we still need the family. We still need the home. We still need the job. We still need a group of buddies. We need the church. And when a man has 1, 3, 12, 120 in his life, that equals 3,000 being saved on the day of Pentecost. Churches started, kingdom enterprises exploded with men. And so those are the numbers. Those are the progressions. Those are the levels of intimacy, even though we don't like to say intimacy. And when we develop those numbers, it's sort of like in a sequence, like the lock on our old high school locker. All of a sudden, things start opening up, and we start having a little bit of balance in our life. And when you have balance in your life, then you're a better man, better husband, better daddy, better buddy. And, and that's just so important. And we believe, a lot of my buddies, that the toughest number is that 3, finding a couple of go-to guys that you can bounce things off of, that you can call when you're down and you need some perspective, because if you're isolated and by yourself, you're getting in trouble. But when they came up with these numbers, I called Ron Smith, my buddy, and he was my manager at the time. We were still partners, and we went over to the Opryland Hotel in Nashville and sat down. I was sharing my heart about it, but we started putting some meat on the bones and trying to come up with a title, and all of a sudden he looked at me. He said, Man Code. And I went, that's it, baby. And we got to unlock this man code, and we got to spread it out to the men. and this was fleshed out. I started with a group of men back in '94, like a group of 7 guys, and now in Monroe, West Monroe, we've got 50-something different groups that meet morning, noon, different, all kinds of denominations. And, so my buddies back then fleshed it out, and, they endorsed it. Even my Duck Dynasty, Willie Robertson's endorsed the book, and we've been friends a long time. He reaches men. It's sort of the time is now to share this
No
concept
question. And
with a lot of people.
I'm so glad you're doing this, because one thing I see the biggest mistake that people make in ministry when they're trying to reach men is they don't know how to speak to them. So many times you're like, the way you're going about this is you're setting up church for women and children. And that's a great thing, but everything you're doing are things that women and children respond to. You haven't done one thing that men respond to, because you got to know how to speak, as you said, the man code. You got to know how to speak.
And don't be afraid to just let it be for men. I'll do man stuff. And I'll say, well, how's it going? We got a good group going. Well, brother, we got one problem. I said, well, what's that? Well, the women are wanting to come. I said, well, dadgum, tell them to go shopping.